It's time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
No, they want to see.
¿Qué onda, vatos locos? It's your boy Dave in the 702 coming at you for that Monday boxing recap known as the Shoe Shine. Joining me all the way from the city of brotherly love, Philly Irish, True Evo. What happened at WWE yesterday? Can you fill me in? Oh man, was it a good one?
Oh yeah, it was a good show.
Oh, okay. They delivered a great show, man. That's exciting, man. There's always that intersection of hardcore boxing fans that love wrestling and vice versa, Drew. And honestly, I think we live in a generation, this boxing generation, the young boxing public, they need some of that WWE trash talk. I mean, the theatrics of it all. They really do. I mean, this is why they favor, people like Ryan Garcia's theatrics and young fighters like shit talkers like Rolando Romero and whatnot. So, hey, I'm all for it. If it brings in more viewers, the theatrics, putting on an entertaining show, I'm all for that, man. Saludos to everybody joining us right now. Hey, shout out to Sin City Syndicate, Mom Food. I saw my boy Jimenez Video Productions in here. Thank you guys for joining us. Drew and I are late. Better late than never, right, Drew? To me, it was kind of a slow weekend in boxing, even though boxing was right here in Las Vegas at the brand new Fontainebleau Casino. I was supposed to go with my boy Fonzie, Drew. That didn't pan out. We had tickets to this VIP party thing that we ended up going to. And we ended up leaving that thing. It just wasn't for us anyways. But I heard that the Fontainebleau, Drew, brand new casino, that it was kind of dead. And ticket sales are going to be something we're going to be talking about because that was an Eddie Hearn DAZN Matchroom Productions card. And some people I know went. They said they were shocked that such a beautiful new casino, the ticket sales were that bad. You know what I'm saying? We just went to a humongous fight with the Fundora, and that's hard to fill 18,000 people at T-Mobile Arena. But a small place like this, 4,000, you shouldn't hear that the seats were empty. You shouldn't hear that at all.
But I'm gonna be honest with the cards that Matchroom is bringing to the U.S. a lot. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, speaking of my boy, I want to give a shout out to my boy Fonzie and a very, very special shout out to our good friend of the show, Tracy J. Drew. She doesn't chat much. She's been an awesome supporter. She watches and she comments. She supports a lot of my good friends, Drew. My boy Fonzie was selling a commemorative gift set, collector's set of boxing. And I guess she saw it on maybe his Facebook Marketplace or something. And you're not going to believe it, but Tracy J, thank you so much. You did not have to do this. But this is the most thoughtful contribution that anybody has done to the Shoe Shine for my man cave. Are you ready for this, guys? And shout out to Tracy J. She bought me this weekend. A collector's set from Corona. This was a limited edition set that I never bought. Paulie Malignaggi, number one right here. Paulie Malignaggi, when my wife had a crush on him too, by the way, guys. Look at the hair and all. I got some more for you all the way from the city of brotherly love, Drew. Danny Garcia, who, by the way, was on the mic the other day at that Tim Zoo fight, right? He's talking about he wants to do things. Danny Garcia in his heyday right here. I got some more. Who can forget Leo Santa Cruz, the great Michoacan fighter who was viciously knocked out by Tank Davis? But man, how many divisions did he span? 118, 122, featherweight. Viva Michoacan, Leo Santa Cruz. Ponce de Leon. Adrian Broner snatched his championship title, one of those championship titles. Adrian Broner, he was a 4-division titleist, but Ponce de Leon, a great Mexican fighter who I believe only had one title, one championship, the one that Adrian Broner eventually took. Speaking of Adrian Broner, guys, I just turned off my TV. Darn it! We'll do without the backdrop. Adrian Broner, Drew, he's scheduled to get back into the ring with Philadelphia's Blair the Flair. Woo! Speaking of WWE. And last but not least, who could forget? Speaking of Argentina, we're talking Lemos, right? The fighter from Argentina this weekend at the Zone. The great Marcos Maidana. I was on the roundtable with Joe Habib and everybody this past Thursday talking about, I'm just excited there's an Argentinian fighter that's coming to the U.S. that's undefeated. I'm looking to see who the next big Argentinian star might be. And I had a chance to watch that fight, Drew. And I think that Lemos, and we'll get to that in a moment, but I think Lemos was robbed. The house fighter always wins. Marcos Maidana now pushing 200 pounds plus. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tracy J. An awesome contribution to my man cave here at Shoe Shine Studios in Las Vegas. I will make sure to put some bookshelves up and some commemorative lights somehow and set that all up there, man. But thank you so much. All right, guys, let's get into it. Drew, what'd you think? You like those bottles? Any of those bottles? You like that? Yeah, the Danny Garcia one. By the way, guys, if you're interested, my boy Fonzie still has some more collectible sets. I believe he's got other collectible sets. So if you're interested, hit me up at Instagram at shoeshine_boxing, and we can see if Fonzie can sell you or send you one of those awesome commemorative gift sets devoted to the sport of boxing. But thank you so much, Tracy J. I can't wait to put those up. Let's get into some boxing talk, Drew. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Weddle Trash is in here. Veronica LA Shadowweight is in the building. Thank you so much, brother. I haven't seen you in a minute. And I know LA Shadowweight loves the blogs, guys. I'm going to be having a lot more time coming up. I'll be making an announcement about my personal, not that I should, but I'm going to be having a personal job change that's going to give me even more time to devote to YouTube, to this channel, and potentially launching a second channel, which I'm very excited about, Drew. That being said, let's get to this fight. I just mentioned it here. It was this Saturday in Las Vegas at the brand new Fontainebleau Casino. A casino, Drew, that has thrown out about a handful of Las Vegas YouTubers already have been thrown out of that place. You got to be careful going in there, Drew. If they don't know who you are and you walk in there with your big ass camera, your big ass gimbal and cell phone recording everything, they might just throw you out. Now, good thing I wasn't there holding up any, I didn't go to the event, but I heard it was half empty, Drew. But I want to talk about the Sky Nicholson fight because she won her first title in Las Vegas. She's fought Sarah Mahfoud, right? Yeah, made easy work of her. Women have been doing great things in the sport of boxing, Drew, and she's trying so hard to get a fight with Amanda Serrano, the incredible Puerto Rican multi-division champion, Drew. It don't sound like Amanda Serrano has any interest in fighting this young Australian champion with this tremendous Olympic pedigree, Drew. Why not? Why won't Amanda Serrano pay attention to this young female champion?
I don't think Amanda wants a real fight anymore. Like, I think that she's not taking high risk fights again unless it's Katie Taylor.
Yeah, and even the commentators mentioned that. Is it just too high risk, low reward?
Like, I just don't know right now. Serrano's trying to think, I can make 3-round fights, but 3-minute round fights, but it's nobody wants to see you do non-boxing skills for 12 rounds and everything. I'm sorry, that's why I see it. She's just trying to hit, and I don't see a lot of skill right there. I'm not trying to see that for 12 rounds, for 12 3-minute rounds and everything. Like, this is why they made women's boxing 2-minute rounds. So.
Well, I agree with you, Drew. I appreciate the 2-minute rounds. I know Amanda Serrano says, hey, if you want to fight me, you've got to fight 12 minutes, 3-minute rounds, just like the men champion. But those fights that I've seen Amanda Serrano in that went that long, they haven't been very interesting. This one here held my attention. I saw the entirety of this fight before going out on Saturday night. And I think Amanda Serrano's going to have to fight her at some point. You have to pass the torch. You have to pass the mantle. It's passing down, just like Floyd Mayweather kind of did that with Canelo Alvarez. And shout out to Veronica. I don't know. She asked me a question. She says, do you know about the tavern? Just curious. What tavern? Give me a little bit more information. Give me a little more clues. I'm not sure about which tavern that is. But Drew, even more women made headlines this Saturday in the sport of boxing because I know you like her. It's some Alicia Baumgardner, but Alicia Baumgardner and what's her name? Help me out here. Clarissa Shields got into it on the microphones, man. I heard some shit. I thought I heard Alicia Baumgardner tell her, you wish you were me. You want to be me so bad. What about that, man? Now, those girls are dramatically, there's a big size difference between Alicia Baumgardner, and they was yelling off some weight divisions. I told you about this weight division. Could those two women ever really fight? Could they meet halfway?
No, because Clarissa is saying you're gonna fight me at 154. I'm not losing no more weight.
Yeah, she's fought titles at 168, 160. Coming down to 154 is considerable, considering she used to fight at 168. But Alicia, man, she was at 130. She's at what now? Currently at 135 or whatnot. That is a big jump.
They were trying to make, like, they say, how about 149? Because she's going to move up to my weight. And they're like, no, we got to have a catch rate.
Yeah, and the thing with Alicia, Drew, I know you're a big fan of Alicia, or you enjoy watching her fight. I enjoy watching her fight too, but I'm still hung up on this positive doping scandal that she was involved in, and I didn't like what the sanctioning bodies said. They eventually just kind of said, look, Alicia did not intentionally ingest progesterone or whichever effing PED it was, but those two PEDs she was ingesting were pretty damn serious. I mean, they're what bodybuilders would use, competitive bodybuilders would use, and yet they were in her system, and all they could say was that they found no evidence that she ingested them intentionally, which is fucking a load of bullshit to me, and it's one of the stains on the sport of boxing to this day. We don't want to see guys cheat taking PEDs, let alone women. I don't know, Drew. I feel like she would have to take a whole lot of shit to compete with Clarissa Shields, being that they're so far apart in weight. You know what I mean? And I feel like Alicia getting away kind of scotch-free, keeping her title, not even doing press tours like they forced Oscar Valdez, the WBC forced Oscar Valdez to go on these like community outreach about don't do dope, don't do drugs, kids. They didn't even make Alicia do that shit. Did they? Not really.
Yep.
So
nope, didn't make her do it.
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned. Like, if she does fight Clarissa Shields, what if? Anyway, man, Diego Pacheco, Drew, 168-pound sparring stable mate of David Benavidez. David Benavidez was in the house on Saturday night. He was here in Las Vegas. He's getting ready to fight supposedly Zvodzik, right? He's in training camp for that. He's there, and he gets a lot of shit on social media this weekend because the guy, Drew, did Drew freeze? Is there a glitch in the Matrix? Am I the only one that sees Drew frozen in time? I'll be damned. Let's see if it recovers. Drew is frozen. It's not even. Are you guys watching this, Bob Food? Drew, it's a glitch in the Matrix. I'm going to end up on one of those YouTube shows where they show the thing. Look what happened here, guys. Was this a glitch? What the
fuck happened?
I don't know, dude. You had a glitch in the Matrix.
Yo, my fucking shit just cut off.
Well, I'm glad you're back, man. I thought we were going to end up on one of those paranormal YouTube TV shows. That would be kind of cool, though, man. You never know. Our show could explode over that. Mom Foos says, LOL. All right, guys. Salute to Bruce, Gas, Boxing, Jazz, and more. Awesome. He did a WWE thing yesterday, and that was awesome, too. Like I said, that intersection, that cross-section of fans from both sports, it's awesome. I think it's good for boxing, Drew. But Diego Pacheco, in my eyes, almost lost to an undefeated fighter I had never seen, Drew. And he came pretty close to making off an upset this weekend, Saturday. His name was McCallman, Drew, and I liked a lot of what I saw because Diego Pacheco, being kind of one of these matchroom fighters, yeah, I know he's very talented. But it's about time he step up. And he fought an undefeated guy that we haven't really heard of. This dude came to win, Drew. And this is what we saw in the main event card, too, between Lemos and Hitchens. Was he in any real danger if he had not made? Did he make an adjustment? Did you get a chance to watch him through the entirety of this fight make that adjustment to pull out rounds 11 and 12?
I had it a draw. Like, I'm really going to be honest when it comes to the matchroom. I think matchroom is very poor when it comes out to bring up prospects. And, like, they gave him too many easy fights. Like, too many easy fights. Like, with Top Rank, they gave him some to work him up and everything, but they start giving him harder fights.
Right.
To see where they're at and everything. Top Rank is the best for prospects. When it comes to matchmaking and everything, I think Matchroom just we're going to go for mismatches.
Well, you saw a little bit of that. Well, I know we gave praise right now to Top Rank, but in Edgar Berlanga, I think they kind of failed Edgar Berlanga, which is why they got rid of him. He had over 16 first-round KOs, and now Diego and Edgar Berlanga are on the same side of the fence with DAZN and Matchroom. And Diego's calling out Edgar, and I think this is a perfect guy to be calling out because I think Berlanga also has gotten Easy Street ride. He's gotten a ride on Easy Street as far as his development.
But here's the thing. Top Rank, they parted ways with him because they see the ceiling. They saw his ceiling. They said, we put him against nearly a top 15, top 10 guy. He's going to lose. And he might even get stopped by that guy. He's not that good of a fighter, and that's why they weren't really trying to keep him because they knew what his ceiling was. This guy's never going to be a champion. He may not even be up to that high-ranked challenger level and everything. And Eddie hasn't really done him any favors in challenging him and everything. So, like, I just don't think that, Matchroom is really terrible when it comes to bringing up prospects. A pure example, Montana Love.
Yeah, and his career is completely falling apart. Montana Love, the 140-pound former. People thought he was a contender. Really, he was a prospect, like you said, Drew.
And another thing, here's a prediction. This is probably going to be a spoiler, too. Mark Castro is being brought up poorly. I really think that when he gets in that late line and he faces a top 10 opponent in his division, he's not going to beat that guy.
Mark Castro was a very decorated amateur. I wanted to see him fight. I didn't get to watch him fight Saturday. I watched him fight today, Drew. I saw that fight, and I was shocked that he went the distance. I think they said he was kind of a last-minute guy, but where he is in his career, a very young prospect coming out of Fresno, signed, big intentions. I can't believe he went 10 rounds with that guy from Mexico. That to me was a poor showing. And yet the scorecards, Drew, were a wash. Like 10, they were what? Some guys had it all 10 rounds for Mark Castro. But the fact that it was like this guy really shouldn't even be in there with you, but he was. And Mark Castro was getting tagged. I know exactly what you're saying, Drew. I'm concerned. This is a fight he needs to watch over and learn from that.
I look at it like this, Dave, that, Andy Cruz, he's special. There's not really much that Eddie can do to not make him not special and everything. Mm-hmm. He's going to be one of those generational talents. And it all depends on what Eddie does for Andy Cruz and everything. But Mark Castro, he fights a top 10 guy. He's not winning.
Agreed. I'm nervous for him. Shout out to Mom Food Planet Things I mentioned as hello to her. Sin City Syndicate says Ryan Garcia is an easy winner at plus 550. Easy winner. Sarah H. Shout out to Sarah H. Urban AZ, a good friend, Urban AZ amigos. Make sure you guys check out our live streams. They're some of the very best Las Vegas live streams you could watch. If you're feeling like, hey, I want to look at Vegas, just go check out my girl Sarah H. Urban AZ on YouTube, and you guys can get a great glimpse of what's going on in the city. My city now. My city too. Shit. All right, Drew, I'm concerned about Mark Castro. The main event, Hitchens. Everybody talked about it this past Thursday on the round table, what kind of fighter he is. We know that he's a very gifted boxer out the East Coast. He spent a lot of time right here in Las Vegas. Floyd Mayweather, he spent a lot of time with Floyd. Floyd was like, okay, I could not get... when he could not sign Shakur Stevenson, he went to Hitchens and was like, okay, I got big plans for Hitchens. Hitchens seems to think that he's on this path to being a world champion at 140, but I think this weekend we got our first glimpse. He's a great boxer. He's not one of these boxers that's on Floyd's level, that's on Devin Haney's level right now. He's just a boxer, Drew. And they wanted to see, the dog in him. And we got to see that this weekend because he almost got knocked out, in my opinion, close to 3 times. And yet he walked away, in your eyes, too, with the victory 7-5. Now, I'll be honest with this Diego Pacheco fight. I gave it to Diego Pacheco barely by a round. There were some swing rounds. But in this one, Drew, I felt like if it wasn't a draw, I most likely would have given it to Lemos, the Argentinian guy. I just brought that up, man. I'm looking for the next Marco Maidanas. 5'5", built like Pitbull Cruz, who we just saw beat the shit out of Raleigh Romero. 5'5" powerhouse at 140 pounds. Same division that Pitbull Cruz just won the title in, Drew. I think he was landing the heavy bombs, the bombs that to Hitchens, he wasn't ready for take that power. He just really wasn't. By the way, he beat Lee Selby, which is a recognizable name. Lemos does have a big win over somebody, a very respectable fighter.
He's gonna fall victim to the matchroom way of matchmaking, and it's starting because now you see he really struggled against a guy like this. What if you put him against Matias? Is he ready for Matias? No, he's not. I think he loses Matias right now.
I wouldn't put him anywhere near Matias.
Does he beat Teofimo? No, he doesn't beat Teofimo. He doesn't beat Devin Haney.
Well, we saw Teofimo take on, I think, an even better boxer in Jermaine Ortiz. I think Jermaine Ortiz is a better technician than Hitchens, and Teo still got the nod there. He don't beat Teo.
He shouldn't have. I don't think he shouldn't have got the nod. I thought he lost clearly. But...
Well, how about some of the young stars? We're going to be talking about those guys. Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, or... I just brought him up. Pitbull Cruz, the champion that looks a lot like the build of this Argentinian fighter, Lemos.
I just don't. He could be a champion in the division, but being like one of the top, like a pound for pound fighter, no.
Drew, I think he matches up well against somebody like contender Arnold Barboza Jr. out of California that is going to be the co-main event of the Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. I think he does well against those type of guys that can box really well too, but aren't huge power punchers. Then it becomes a very interesting fight. I'm starting to feel like Hitchens gets knocked out by a power puncher. Matias lays him out.
Yeah, he lays him out. I think he can beat Isaac Cruz because so? I think he's good enough to keep him at bay all night and use his reach advantage. I think he's at least good enough to keep him into a boxing fight and use his reach all night against him.
So why did it not happen here? Why did he get caught almost 3 times and was on shaky legs?
If you look at it, I didn't think this guy I didn't think this camp had much film of this guy. Very possible. It was virtually unknown to them and everything. And like to see what to watch out for, they had to learn while they were fighting him. What's he like doing and everything? And it was like adjustments right off the back. And this is why I think Matchroom is going to eventually, their prospects, when they move up, if they get the wrong type of treatment, are going to lose. And they might lose bad. So, like, hopefully this is a lesson taught for him and his camp.
And
everything gets
yeah.
better from it.
Drew, you mentioned Montana Love, a Matchroom fighter out of Ohio who looked like he was going to be a star at 140 pounds. Not the same pedigree of Hitchens. Hitchens has a tremendous amateur pedigree. But in Montana Love, he gets smoked by Liam Paro. And Liam Paro is now, looking at some big opportunities over that. I mean, do you feel like it's just a matter of time for Hitchens if he gets smoked by a power punch? Obviously, if he fought Matias, that's a championship fight. So, it's all right if he loses in the title fight. But do you think along the way he ends up getting dismantled like Montana Love's career?
There's a good chance, but I think he's a smarter fighter. Here's the thing. I think his camp and him are smarter than the Love camp. I think the Love camp was about, hey, I want to make money and get invest. And I understand that. You gotta figure out shit and everything when you retire and everything, and make sure you're taken care of and everything. But you also gotta work on trying to have success, because if you have success, that's where you make most of your money at. That's where you're gonna make the more money. And I think I can give them credit. They're going to be smart enough to watch this fight and to see what he did wrong, what he has to really improve on. And they're going to figure out who they're going to fight next. And they're going to tell Eddie, we need another step-up fight. He's going to have to take step-up fights now, because he's in top 5, possibly in all sanctioned bodies for a title shot eventually. And he's going to have to start to end. His camp, I think, is smarter to say, hey, Eddie, we need some big fights here now. You got to challenge him and see where we're at. Like, this showed something, but we need to keep it going, because we want the ultimate goal should be a championship fight.
Drew, I forgot, guys, to mention 702-710-3627. I did have the phone line active. If something went wiry with it, my boy Lukey says, I'm on the line and I fixed it. Lukey Boxing, a great writer. I got his book right here, guys, available on Amazon. Lukey, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Appreciate you calling in. All right, man, let's get cooking. I got a couple. I haven't talked to you in a minute. We haven't talked to you, Lukey. Your thoughts on the Hitchens main event in Las Vegas, Hitchens versus this unknown Argentinian fighter. What were your thoughts on that?
Pretty forgettable fight, if you want my honest opinion. There's a lot of ways to look at it. I think you can't look at it without thinking rehydration probably played into it. The IBF there's a lot of things wrong with sanctioning bodies, and the IBF has its own issues, right? And one of which is that the next day you have to be within 10 pounds of the weight that you weighed in the day prior. Richardson Hitchens, to my untrained or trained eye, looked a little depleted all week, and I'd be curious how many times Richardson Hitchens has done the second day weigh-in, and if that factored into this performance, because a lot of times when fighters fight for the IBF, magically they have bad performances because of that morning weigh-in at 9 a.m. Also, Argentina has a history of just unknown fighters who are tough as hell, who just emerge and fight for a couple of years. Diego Chavez, Brian Castano, Lucas Matisse, was Maidana Argentina?
Oh, yeah, Maidana. What about
Maidana, so there's another. So.
Yeah, what about that former champion, Carlos?
The one that fought Floyd?
Yeah.
Or am I blanking on his name? Yeah, so, they got the guys. But, if you want my honest opinion about the fight, it's a fight that I'm probably never going to watch again. And it's a fight that I'm just going to remember as, a fight Lemos probably should have won. but that's just boxing, right? The guys that magically, for whatever reason, the fighters that aren't with the promoters never seem to be Rocky all that often. It's the special nights, and I don't know. It was a very ugly, forgettable fight.
Well, there's a fight this Wednesday. I got to pick your brain because you've written you're right for Pro Box online, Pro Box Boxing on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. This fight looks like it could be on a larger promotional. I'm talking about Las Vegas's Angelo Leo, former 122 pound world champion. And this is big to see him on a stage like Pro Box, now on YouTube, available for everybody. He fought Stephen Fulton, Philadelphia Stephen Fulton, lost his title there. But ever since then, he's been on a 3-win streak, right? I think he's won 3 in a row. And he's not fighting somebody who doesn't bring something to the table. Eduardo Baez is a guy I've watched on Top Rank who got a title opportunity against the best, Navarrete, came up short in a knockout. But prior to that, if I remember correctly, he was in a fight with this guy named Jose Vivas out of Mexico, and they threw 1,600 punches? This is a potential for a barn burner this Wednesday night on YouTube, right?
Well, it's YouTube, and it's available on the ProBox TV app, and I highly recommend using the ProBox TV app that's available in all app stores, because it gives you access to the latest news and a lot of different features that just watching on YouTube alone doesn't give you. But I mean, if anyone is obviously raise your hand in the chat if you're a hardcore boxing fan. It's a Monday night, a school night, and people are tuned into a great boxing program. Of course you're a hardcore boxing fan. So ProBox TV, pound for pound, in my opinion, is giving the fight fans fights that are actually fights. You're getting great fights consistently. Every card you tune into, there's at least one fight where I'm excited about the outcome of the fight. There's always one fight where I'm like, oh, I want to see how this plays out. And you look at this card, and it's no different. The depth of this card, you look at the top 2 fights on this card, and these are really interesting fights in different ways. The top of the card, you got Angelo Leo looking to become a 2-division world champion. So he's taking on the type of guy who hasn't won a world title, but he's been knocking on the door and looked the part of a contender at the highest level. And then you got Jacob Gomez in the co-main event taking on Jose Arellano, who's trained by Javier Centeno. And that's even though Arellano has a loss, he's gotten with a new team. He beat the prospect. And Jacob Gomez, he's a guy, undefeated guy with Pro Box that's been brought up on the circuit. That's another 50-50 fight. So you got 2 fights right there. You got Dominic Valle, very good card. And then you look ahead to 2 weeks from there. You're looking at Marcus Valle, the brother of Dominic Valle, first main event card, I believe, headlining against Damian Sosa, who's fought in Northern California a lot. So what I'm saying is every 2 weeks, Pro Box is giving the fight fans great fights. And even if I didn't work there and contribute there, I'd be a fan of Pro Box. And I think the neatest thing about Pro Box, and then I'll shut up, is I was sitting in this exact room before I worked at Pro Box, and I fired up my YouTube on my smart TV, which at the time was new to me, watching YouTube on a TV. And I put on Pro Box on a Friday night, and I didn't know what it was. I was like, let's just watch boxing on a Friday night. And I kept watching them. And then serendipitously or miraculously or whatever it is, I ended up working there. But I remember how it kind of came together. I was watching Pro Box, and I enjoyed the card. I watched Jimmy Kelly beat Kenneth Islam, and it was a compelling card of really interesting fights. And I'm like, man, I enjoy it. I enjoyed the broadcast, the crew, the production. And for me, I kind of take it a little personal with Pro Box, because I came in as a fan that really enjoyed the product, and they've given me great opportunities to kind of do what I do. And I really believe in the product. So that's kind of my spiel on it.
Well, my favorite thing I saw on Pro Box today was Polly. There's my new collectible item. I was showing this off earlier, Lucas. And Polly alluded that Ryan Garcia is a spoiled brat. I love his take on that. But Lucas, there's one more thing I wanted to ask you, and then I'll probably ask you one more other thing, is that I read an article today on Boxing Scene, and my wife is Italian, she's Sicilian, and I'm reading this article about this exciting Italian prospect that's out of Las Vegas, but he grew up in Cuba. Like, that's bananas. He grew up on the Cuban
my
team.
Story. Yeah, that's a Lukey story. So I talked to this young man. It took about a few days. Did you know that I wrote the story, or are you just asking?
I read all the boxing media. I saw this. I'm talking about Yoel Angeloni. He's Italian-born from Rome, Italy, and you got a chance to interview him. And I guess he trains out at Las Vegas at Capatillo Gym. Capatillo Gym's got many world champions. He's trained many, but he was raised in Cuba, right? That's the on the Cuban Olympic.
Yeah, and then he moved back to Italy. I mean, it's just I think the most interesting thing about this story too for me was like there's another not so interesting. I was meeting with my financial advisor like literally 10 minutes before the interview, so I had like a very small window where it's like, okay, but it was like he doesn't speak English, so there's like a translator that's needed. And whenever you do translator interviews, at least for me, I'm always a little bummed because you lose a little bit of the personality, the context. And I think any good translator kind of micromanages.
Okay.
And,
was it
and
Spanish
kind
they
of
were
takes out anything controversial.
Was it Spanish or Italian he was talking?
I think it was Spanish because I was picking up on it. But honestly, I was really stressed out that day, so I can't even really tell you. I was like just kind of hitting the points. But I think the most interesting thing is he turned pro. He's with DeBella. He turns pro on Devin Haney, George Kambosos. He fights one time last year. And I didn't really get into his situation because I didn't want to deal with like the language barrier, etc. And I didn't think that was the most interesting. I thought the interesting part was he's Italian Cuban mixture because we've never seen that, and etc. And like the possibility, like thinking on a grand scale, what if he was big enough where the Coliseum could hold a fight, something of that nature. Like what if we could get like a monument to hold a fight because of his popularity. But he was talking about how he was so excited about how this camp was really good. And he's got like a crazy amateur record. So it's like one where he only has 4 losses and
right.
Really good. And I think that the big thing with him is I kind of get this, like he's really young. So there's going to be like, it's kind of like I heard you guys talking about Mark Castro, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, Mark's really good. He's going to be a world champion. But there's also an element of he's really young. And there's a little bit of growing up in life he has to do. There's a little bit of just like experience as a boxer. Mm-hmm. And I think the hard part about boxing with fighters boxing treats fighters not as much of a sport or the potential as a stock investment. So you're only as good as your last fight, and your last fight indicates where the stock is going. Are you going up or are you going down? Is it time to cash out? That's exactly what boxing is.
Exactly. We hear that all the time. We say, did his stock drop on this last performance? Did his stock drop? And that's what everyone's going to be waiting for. April 20th with Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. Will Ryan Garcia lose in spectacular fashion? Will he lose in competitive fashion? Will his stock drop completely, tank overnight? I mean, that's all presuming Devin Haney wins, but I get what you're saying, Lukey. I'm going to move on from the show.
I think the kid's interesting. I think he's just interesting. I think he's an interesting person to follow.
I'm going to watch this fight.
He's going to be on the telecast.
I'm going to be watching this fight, and if I get a chance, Luke, if you can introduce me, if he's looking good, I'd love to interview the kid. I speak perfect Spanish. I'll go down to the gym and interview him, because I think like the only person I can remember having a story this interesting is Blair the Flair, Drew out of Philly, who, his father was involved in narcotics, and he had to flee to Mexico, and he learned how to fight in Guadalajara, an African-American kid, mixed kid fighting, learning how to fight in the streets of Guadalajara, in gyms in Guadalajara. I think that's like the closest I could think about. I mean, such a wild story.
Well, that makes me feel good that I wrote a story that was interesting.
No, it is.
That
And
makes me
I'm telling
feel
you,
good.
my wife's probably going to listen to the podcast and say, let's watch this kid. Now I got somebody to root for. He's Italian, you know. And is he going to fight European style or is he going to fight in the Cuban school? Like, I'm excited to see that, you know. Like, what did he learn in Cuba? That's very interesting to me. One last thing, Lukey, before I let you go. A good mutual friend of ours, Salinas, California, Ruben Villa, featherweight contender, who also got his shot against Navarrete maybe a little too early. He's back in action this weekend in Corpus Christi on the Top Rank card that I'm going to bring up in just a little bit. Have you heard anything about his camp? What are you thinking about the Mexican opponent he's fighting?
I mean, I haven't heard anything, but I know his trainer, Max, and I know there's Max's son, Sam, really well. I mean, shoot, I've known them for at least probably 12 years at the very least, probably longer, and they're very professional. And I've known Ruben for probably close to 10 years now, maybe 10 years. And funny story. Yeah, you're asking me a technical question. It's like, let me ramble to you guys. But like probably the most fun story I can share with you about Ruben is I remember he showed up to Gabe Flores' gym back in the day. That's now Chino, Marco Arroyo's gym. Chino runs the gym. East Stockton Boxing Club is what it was, but it used to be Los Gallos Boxing. And if anyone that's ever been there, it's in these warehouses, and it's really kind of hard to get to. And it's kind of like you have to know it's there to know it's there. And I remember he drove from Salinas in rush hour traffic to Stockton, sparred Gabe in a Spitfire hoodie, and then they drove home. And I remember that's like the level of commitment of like the Ruben, of the Gabriel at that time. It was like these guys were probably Gabe was going the next week, you know, they were just doing that level of commitment. And look, unless you're one of the guys that we know the names of, Ruben's going to beat you. And it's just that simple. He's as close to a Lomachenko type fighter without maybe some of those natural gifts. He has one of the highest intellectual brains in terms of boxing. He's one of the craftiest southpaws. He's able to do things. He's so good, I think he lulls fighters into a false sense of security because he makes them think they're having more success and walks them into traps because they don't understand what he's doing. Ruben Villa will upset a world champion when he gets the opportunity. The key word is win. And I'll give you a little, are you ready for a tip? This is a shoe shine boxing tip.
Let's do it.
Watch where he's placed on the card. If he's the first fight of the card, he's a ways away from a world title. If he's closer to the top of the card, very soon he will get a very good fight.
That sucks. I think I just read he's at the bottom of the card. Hopefully that
well, we
changes.
don't know if he's on the bottom of the card, but like the bout sheet hasn't been released. So if he's the first person to weigh in on Friday, then there's something to be scared about. There's something because, especially with Top Rank, you don't want to be doing an 8 or a 10 rounder as the first fight because that's kind of like a step your game up sign.
Right.
You know,
he's fighting. It's a 10 rounder. It's absolutely a 10 rounder. And I have to remind the audience, the current featherweight champion, one of the baddest in the business right now, El Venado Lopez, is a guy that Ruben Villa has one of his only losses. Ruben Villa beat him on Showbox when they were both relatively unknown prospects, and they both fight on Top Rank. So I'm curious, like you said, where they place him on that card.
Can I give you a fun fact?
Yeah.
Too? Do you know who the other guy that beat Venado was?
No, who was the other guy? He has 2 losses. That's correct.
The guy Mark Castro beat this weekend.
That guy? Dang.
Yep.
I was just saying, I know I saw that guy somewhere, but I didn't see that fight.
Yep.
Anyways, it's been a pleasure. Lukey does his thing right here on YouTube. He also writes for Boxing Scene. He writes for Pro Box. And you can get his copy of his book, Inside the Ropes of Boxing, on Amazon. Always a pleasure speaking to Lucas Cattell. Lukey, I'll keep in touch, man. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Lukey. Thank you so much. That was Lukey Cattell, guys. The phone line is open. Saludos to El Pachuco and everybody that's still hanging tight with us, guys. We have 33 likes. Let's get that up to 35 if possible. I appreciate everybody, Drew. We talked about Top Rank really briefly. I got to get to this story. Let's talk about this one. And then you had another story, and then we'll just quickly go over the Top Rank main event. Drew, ticket sales for Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia are plummeting from what I'm reading. It's been all over my social media timeline. They're showing pictures of all the empty seats. I talked about empty seats in Vegas, which, for the Fontainebleau, for DAZN, for Matchroom, I mean, that's not that big of a deal. But to have the two of the original Four Kings, two of the biggest stars in boxing, I'm talking about Devin Haney, who just sold 17,000 seats in San Francisco where the Golden State Warriors play. He had no problem selling that place out and getting celebrities to show up. They decide that Devin Haney, who's from the Bay Area, who lives in Vegas, should fight Ryan Garcia, a West Coast kid in New York. Does it fucking make any sense why the Barclays Center is not selling out this event? They're talking about slashing. First of all, big fights, Drew, $300 for nosebleeds is kind of standard in Las Vegas. It's if you go see Canelo, you're going to pay $300 to $400 for nosebleeds. But they can't sell $200 nosebleeds at the Barclays Center in New York City, Drew. They're thinking about slashing them this week down to 100. And before you know it, as 12 days turn into 6 days, you might just have to sell these motherfuckers on Groupon or whatever else. Or comp about 5,000 seats. I did hear they comped a lot of seats for Devin Haney's San Francisco event. But Drew, they're even talking about potentially they've already slashed the price of the pay-per-view from $80 to $69.99.
Wow, $10.
Do you just go down to $49? $49.99?
I think you got on the $40.
Which is what the Saudis did, $40, $39. I like that price. They should just do standard, $39.99. But I'm concerned that this place, the Barclays Center, may be half full, Drew.
That's what I'm thinking.
Man, I think they bit themselves in the foot, guys. Let me know in the chat, those who are still watching, did the promoters bite themselves in the foot here? There isn't anything good to say about this.
I don't know. This is like and the main reason why, because everybody thinks Ryan Garcia is going to pull out. Why buy fight if they think Ryan's going to pull out or something's going to happen when it involves Ryan Garcia?
I did see, Drew.
Yes.
I did see that Ryan weighed in. They have the 2-week weigh-in where you basically put yourself on the scale and send pictures into the sanctioning bodies and your promoters. He's currently at 147 pounds. That's fantastic. For 12 days away, he's on target to make 140. He's going to be on weight. Now, what performance we're going to see out of the guy, that's a whole nother thing if he does show up. But, I had to answer some comments on this channel in the YouTube comment section about, hey, mother effer, the fight ain't canceled yet. Ha, ha, ha. Well, you're right. Could they cancel? Could he back out of the fight this late, Drew?
I can see it, but is it going to happen? I don't know. Like, I could really see Ryan Garcia like a week or like maybe a couple of days saying I'm not fighting. And like, that's why I don't think the tickets are going on sale the way that they thought it was going to be. Basically, you can't trust Ryan Garcia if he's going to fight or not.
Yeah, you really like people know that between him and Tank Davis, they sold over 1 million pay-per-views. And that made Ryan Garcia the de facto second best pay-per-view, like next to Canelo. Like, hey, if you want a super fight, you got to involve him. And that's why they've involved him. That's why they went ahead. Devin Haney's dad, Bill, was like, hey, let's make this fight. You said you wanted it. They were eager to make this fight. I just feel, I knew from the beginning this fight should have been in Las Vegas or even Los Angeles, this fight would clearly have done much, much better ticket sales. We wouldn't even be reading about this bullshit.
Even in Texas.
Drew, let's get on to that one story you wanted to do, and we'll wrap up the show. We'll get back together this week. I know it's late for Drew. I could tell Drew's fighting, or we could just wrap up the show now and get back together later on this week, man.
That's up to you. Like, I was getting ready to answer it.
Let's
anyway.
Well, let's get into that last bit, and then we'll recap the show, or we'll get back together on the show the rest of this sometime this week, guys. But Drew, you're telling me you're hearing things that this PBC card, the Tim Tszyu fight that, I was very excited to meet Tim and Fundora this past week, that potentially things aren't going very well with this PBC Amazon work relationship, right?
Oh no, nah. I can see it right now. How this pay-per-view is gonna do. The numbers are. It's gonna be to a point that Amazon's gonna look at it and say, "We invested this much money into this, like, and they'll have to, figure out something. Like they're already trying not to make the Tank Davis fight a pay-per-view fight Amazon, and I think Heyman's trying to argue with it, but they're not. I think that Tank fight's not going to be a pay-per-view card. I don't even think they're going to be with Amazon much longer.
But Tank Martin is. You're talking about Tank versus Frank Martin, Drew. I seen Frank Martin fight twice already last year in Las Vegas. Frank Martin doesn't deserve to be anywhere near a pay-per-view. He can't sell out Cosmopolitan. He's not the right dance partner. Yes, it's an in-house easy fight for PBC to make. He has been winning his fights, but I just don't think it's going to be competitive. I don't think Frank Martin has the star power to even command a pay-per-view. And then that's why I heard that they were thinking about putting David Benavidez with Gervonta Tank Davis on the same night. Now that sounds like something you might want to pay money for if their people they're fighting are pretty good. That sounds more plausible to be a pay-per-view. You're still shaking your head no? I don't see that these guys agree to fight on the same card.
Like, here's the thing. I think this Frank Martin is not even ready. And I think Tank's people see that he's going to beat Frank Martin. And the Benavidez people thinking, hey, but David can destroy him because the dude's coming out off. He hasn't really fought much, and he's coming out of retirement. So, I don't know.
Exactly, man.
Doesn't look good. Does not look good.
It doesn't, man. And you know what? Right now I'm kind of feeling like that post. You know that post when you just were on a really good high and then you could come back to normalcy and whatnot. It was kind of a slow week for boxing, Drew. And there's some good fights this weekend for sure, especially Wednesday night. I mentioned it on Pro Box. Maybe we'll get back together on Thursday and go over that top rank card. But then once April 20th rolls around, it's high gear, Drew. We got April 20th. Then we got the big Cinco de Mayo showdown right here in Las Vegas. Saludos to my boy Chicano Prophet. It's pretty late. My boy Drew got to go to work, so we're going to get together back potentially this Thursday night. Maybe wrap about the Pro Box card and the upcoming Saturday Top Rank card. I am Dave in the 702 from the Shoe Shine. Drew, let's get back together Thursday if you got a chance, man. We'll talk about this Top Rank card in more detail. Until then, thank you so much, everybody. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button. We'll see you later. Peace out, everybody.